April, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, April, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, April, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes, April, I love to make reference to, excuse me, to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, April, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I used the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. So, but you see, just recently, April, I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now, April. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so, so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing April that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your knowledge so far, your insight, the insight, the impact your work is having, and how you are offering your solutions. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, April, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things April is doing, and not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we had a day with the amazing April. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much.
Having me in the invite.
Beautiful. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, April, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible April on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, high opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, April, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So, for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how April got here. Then, afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, April, over to you.
Okay, so my name is April Ratchford. I am an autistic occupational therapist. I'm also a mom to an autistic young son who is 23, who I just dropped off to Marshall University a couple of weeks
Hmm,
ago. So he's starting his
awesome.
fall semester. Um, I started this podcast on behalf of him when he was 19. He was transitioning out of high school and there was really no supports for him. And by training, my training is long-term care. I love helping the elderly in dementia and Alzheimer's. And that's where I thrive at. But when I was helping him transition, there was no one out there helping me get him out into the world of adulthood. And this was during COVID. So everything was up in the air during COVID. And I'm doing this on my own, trying to navigate, trying to get him from A to B. And I kept him out of college 1 year because he wasn't mature enough. My sister, who is also an occupational therapist, helped me along, and we just kind of kept him home, building his adult skills to go off to college. So he went off to one college where my niece was at. So she was ahead of him by a year, and we knew he would be okay because she was on campus. And he crashed and burned, and he tried again at another college, crashed and burned, and after that, he came back home. He was defeated. He felt like he wasn't worthy. He was sad, kind of self isolated. And I live in Kentucky in the United States, and there's a lot of rural areas, and there's not a lot for autistic young adults. And I looked online, I looked for podcasts, I looked for something to help autistic young adults. I didn't find it. He was $10,000 in debt. And I created this podcast to help other parents so they didn't have to fall through the pits like I did, because it's hard transitioning an autistic young adult into the adult world when the world wasn't made for them. When they're kids, we taught them, hey, the world's made for you. You can be yourself, but they come out into the world and it's not true. And they're taught to mask, and they're taught to be somebody else. And being people of color, we're taught to code switch anyway. And now here they are code switching with another switch. And so I created the podcast to help them with relationships and mental health and coaching and taking off the mask, and their families can take off the mask, and merch that is empowerment and not just rainbows, lollipops, and real talk for neurodivergents, autistics, and their families globally, because it's a global issue and nobody's having the conversation. It's not going to go away. They don't grow out of it. So here I am.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. You see, one thing that stood out while you were talking was the part where you mentioned that you started your podcast so as to help others not to fall into the pit. And that's one of the traits of a true leader. You see, they tend to help others with their solutions that they may not go the same path they went. And that's very inspiring. And I love that. Thank you for the beautiful stuff you did. I tell you. So there was this part that I'm curious about. All right. So how can parents, schools, and communities better prepare autistic teens?
So we've got to teach them how to advocate for themselves better. It's not that parents are doing it wrong, but we have to teach them to use their voice now, because we have to think about, and it's morbid to think of it this way, but what happens if something happens to us, the parents or the caregivers? They're going to have to use that voice and be strong in themselves and be strong in who they are and know who they are and their values in order to get their voice across. For example, my son just had the housing issue at Marshall. This is only the second week of school. He was staying on an on-campus apartment, and this apartment complex decided it was okay to have a roommate who attempted to circumvent the rules and try to break in instead of paying the rent first. Well, my son was like, that's not okay. I'm putting a hard boundary. You have to pay just like we did. So no. And so at first the apartment complex is like, okay, we'll take away the lease. Well, Come to find out, on this past Monday, they gave him the lease because he paid his rent, and he said he was sorry. And my son calls me in a panic saying, Mom, they let him in my apartment complex because there was a 4 apartment suite, 2 rooms on one side, 2 rooms on the other. He was like, what do I do? I'm scared. This dude tried to break in the first time. I said, okay, go to student advocacy, see what they can do, and advocate for yourself. And he did. He went to advocacy. They said, hey, you're going to have to get out of the lease. We'll find you a room. We'll find you a place. They found him a place. He went to the resident office. He said, I want out of this lease. I don't feel safe. He tried to break in.
mm,
I want to talk to the officer, make a report because that's not safe. And they said, there's nothing we can do. He called me, and this broke my heart because this was the first time. He's 23 now. This is the first time he stood on his own 2 feet, advocated for himself. And he said, Mom, did I do this wrong? I said, no, you didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes you just have to pass it over to somebody who knows. And I'm the OT, and I had to take over and go play Mama Bear and be me. And had he not knew who he was and had the strength to have the voice, he wouldn't be able to advocate for himself. And we have to give them that.
wow, I got that, and thank you for sharing that with us. So, what about this one? How can community programs support autistic adults?
Ask them what they need. How can we help you be you? There is a gentleman, Thomas Derry, who wrote a book, and he has a business, Rising Tide. He created car washes based on all neurodivergent autistic people here in Florida. And he said it's very easy for autistic people to work. Just tell them what to do. They have the lowest rate in accidents ever. My son worked in a deli slicing meat. Never came home with a single cut on his hand. I have a fiance who cuts his hand daily with a regular knife.
Hmm,
So that's generally what happens.
wow. Okay, I got that. All right, so let's proceed. What about this one? How can parents and kids improve communication?
So you have to remember that you meet one autistic person, you meet one autistic person. So be very clear when you talk to them. Be straightforward and meet them where they're at. Don't assume they know what you're talking about. Just be direct. Um, as my son was growing up, I always told my family, don't give him the fluff, just tell him. Because some people that are autistic are very literal. Some people aren't very literal. They understand the nuances. Just be direct with them, but be kind. You can be direct and kind at the same time. They'll understand.
Hmm, they'll understand. I got that. So we have two more to go. Let's talk about job interviews. Are job interviews outdated?
Yes, they're very outdated, and they're not meant for autistic people. They're not meant for people. Let's They're not meant for people anyway. Because realistically, it's a systematic thing. They're meant for a certain cookie cutter group. They're not meant for who can get the job done the best. If you want to hire the best person, you're going to want them to have the best job skills. And just because autistic people don't do well on job interviews because they don't do well when you give them those pop-up questions, I still don't do well on job interviews. If you give me a random pop-up question I've never heard before, but I have been doing it so long, I can just come up with an answer off the fly. But my kid would never do well because it's still new. If jobs would just give people the questions beforehand and let them practice it, it'll be easier. Or you can role play. Or some of these questions that job interviewers give, some of these people have never been in these situations. So they're awkward.
That's so true, and I got that. So let's talk about your podcast. All right, how has it been so far?
So I've been on, I guess, a good 20 months. It's not been too long. It'll be 2 years in January. I'm still rolling strong, still getting many guests. Now I'm getting guests emailing me, so that's good. Um, I do, like I said, I do have a merch line myself. That's very empowerment forward, so that's good. So I do well. I like getting guests out, and I'm getting more of you lovely, lovely other podcasters inviting me on their show, which is
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So how many episodes so far?
Ooh, I'm over 170 episodes now.
That's a beautiful one.
Yeah, and starting next month, instead of 2 episodes, I'm going to 3 episodes a week because there's
Whoa,
so many guests.
that's the
So
spirit. Awesome. I love that. You see, you're such a great person, I tell you. The way you are offering your solutions and not keeping this stuff to yourself, it means a whole lot. So finally, all right, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the beautiful stuff you're doing, or even become a listener of your wonderful podcast. How can that be possible?
so for everybody out there who thinks they're by themselves, you're not. There's groups of us around the world. There's small communities, but we're out there. And if you can't find them, come to me. I'll point you in the right direction because I know where they are at. Um, you can find me on all platforms: Spotify, Apple. If you're Indian, I am on an Indian platform as well. Saman. I got out there. Um, but you can go to my link tree. It has all my socials on there. I have free stuff that other podcasters have sent me that may help you out if you're overstimulated and you just like to stim, especially if you love Rubik's cubes. Love that. I got one for you. Um, if you want a T-shirt and you like little trinkets and stickers, I got that as well. You can go onto my link tree, and I have all that kind of stuff: mugs, sweatshirts, you name it, I got it. And if you like, I've actually spoken on a summit that's going on now, and it's a global summit, and it's running for a while, where you can actually go in and learn for 10 plus hours with other um, educators. So I'll link that onto my link tree, and you guys can check it out.
That's beautiful. Thank you so, so very much. So that's going to be the end of the show, April. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.